является церемония подписания итоговых документов.
Ключевые положения.
The key aspects of Trump's plan are based on understandings reached in Anchorage at the Russia-US summit in August this year.
В августе нынешнего года.
These principles are largely reflected in the plan,
В целом, в плане отражения,
which we welcomed.
что мы приветствовали, а те, кто представляет
Those who represent diplomacy and politics in Europe
в Европе, они
do
занимаются
exactly the opposite.
ровно противоположным.
The aim of those leaks, constant speculations, spreading rumors, is only one.
Распространение слухов, только одна.
In this case, the aim is to undermine Donald Trump's incentive in the part which reflects understandings reached in Anchorage.
Воспроизводит.
They do not even try to conceal this.
Этого не скрывают.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that Ukraine was ready to advance a US-backed framework for ending the war with Russia, and discussed disputed points with US President Donald Trump in talks he said should include European allies. Underlining the high stakes for Ukraine, its capital Kyiv was hit by a barrage of missiles and hundreds of drones overnight, in a Russian strike that killed several people and again disrupted power and heating systems. Residents were seen sheltering underground wearing winter jackets, some in tents. US and Ukrainian officials have been trying to narrow the gaps between them over the plan to end the conflict, with Ukraine wary of being strong-armed into accepting a deal largely on Russia's terms, including territorial concessions. Kyiv's message hinted that an intense diplomatic push by the Trump administration could be making progress.
So I think we're getting very close to a deal. We'll find out.
But any optimism could be short-lived, especially as Russia stressed it would not let any deal stray too far from its own objectives.
Промежуточную.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said an amended peace plan must reflect the, quote, spirit and letter of an understanding reached between Putin and Trump at their Alaska summit in August.
Дух и буква Анкориджа.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on X that the U.S. had made tremendous progress towards a deal over the past week, adding that there are, quote, a few delicate but not insurmountable details that remain. French President Emmanuel Macron, in a call with a group of countries supporting Ukraine, known as the Coalition of the Willing, said talks were at a critical juncture.
The absolute condition for a good peace is a set of very robust security guarantees, and not paper guarantees.
The 28-point peace plan that emerged last week caught many in the U.S. government, Kyiv, and Europe alike off guard. The plan would require Ukraine to cede territory beyond the almost 20% of the country that Russia has captured since its February 2022 full-scale invasion, as well as accept curbs on its military and bar it from ever joining NATO, conditions Kyiv has long rejected as tantamount to surrender.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one.
The FBI has requested interviews with 6 Democrats from the U.S. Congress who told members of the military in a video message that they can legally refuse to carry out unlawful orders. That's according to a Justice Department official. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said the FBI interviews with the lawmakers were to determine, quote, if there's any wrongdoing, and then go from there. The FBI did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The move, earlier reported by Fox News, follows the Pentagon's threat to recall Senator Mark Kelly, a Navy veteran and one of the 6 lawmakers, to active duty to potentially face military charges. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called the lawmakers' video a seditious social media activity. President Donald Trump also accused the 6 Democrats of sedition, adding that the alleged crime was punishable by death. Trump's critics say he has sought to harness the power of government to stifle dissent. In a statement on Monday, Kelly dismissed the Pentagon's threat as an intimidation tactic. The other lawmakers who made the comments in a video released last week include Senator Elissa Slotkin, a former CIA analyst and Iraq War veteran, and Representatives Jason Crow, Maggie Goodlander, Chris DeLuzio, and Chrissy Houlihan, who are all military veterans. The legislators created the video amid concerns from Democrats, echoed privately by some U.S. military commanders, that the Trump administration is violating the law by ordering strikes on vessels allegedly carrying drug traffickers in Latin American waters. The Pentagon has argued the strikes are justified because the drug smugglers are considered terrorists.
After decades of conflict, residents of Lebanon's Christian town of Ramesh say they hope Pope Leo's visit will bring peace and strengthen the dwindling Catholic community. Lebanon has the region's highest proportion of Christians, and Ramesh has been home to Catholics for more than 300 years. At St. George Church, Reverend Najib Amel says the Pope cares about Lebanon because if Christians here leave, there won't be any more in the Middle East. Despite its Middle East birthplace, Christianity has declined in the region from around 20% of its population a century ago to about 5% today, and falling. Ramesh, a town of 6,000 nestled on Lebanon's southern border with Israel, has surprisingly emerged unscathed from the last 2 turbulent years of war. Mayor Hana Amel points to hilltops in the distance, where he says the Israeli military holds positions. North of the town are predominantly Muslim villages that have been pummeled by Israeli airstrikes. Reverend Amel says to spare Ramesh from Israeli strikes, residents asked Hezbollah fighters not to launch missiles from the town.
This war was indeed tough on the neighbors, but thank God nothing happened in Ramesh because we insisted on staying in our town and we tried to talk to the Hezbollah people we knew, with whom we have good ties and are friends with.
Even though the town was spared, residents are struggling to return to normal life. Its schools once counted hundreds of students from nearby Shiite Muslim villages as pupils, but with those villages in ruins, few families have returned. The Israeli military is also enforcing no-go zones where Ramesh residents own olive groves and tobacco fields. Leo's 3-day trip to Lebanon will skip the south. Israel's military still occupies posts there and bombs locations it says are Hezbollah arms depots.
Two Indian airlines have said they were cancelling some flights after ash plumes from a volcanic eruption in Ethiopia disrupted operations. Air India said it had cancelled 11 flights on Monday and Tuesday to make precautionary checks on aircraft that had flown over some locations. Small peer Akasa said it had scrapped scheduled flights to Middle East destinations such as Jeddah, Kuwait and Abu Dhabi, scheduled during the 2 days. Omkar Singh is one of the passengers affected.
I was supposed to come to India from Greece and my transfer was in Bahrain, and there my flight was delayed for 2 hours, and the reason given to us was the weather.
Ethiopia's Haile Gubby volcano sent ash plumes nearly 9 miles high after erupting on Sunday for the first time in recorded history, according to media reports. India's meteorological department said in a statement that the ash cloud is moving toward China and is expected to clear Indian skies on Tuesday.
New car sales in Europe rose 4.9% in October as electric cars outpaced petrol and diesel registrations. Data from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association showed on Tuesday that sales in the EU, Britain and the European Free Trade Association rose to over 1 million cars. Its largest markets, including Germany and Britain, added more new cars than last year. The European car industry has taken a series of hits this year. They include Donald Trump's trade tariffs, a slowdown in the Chinese market, and a slower-than-expected transition to electric vehicles. There have also been recent worries about a potential chip supply chain crisis surrounding Dutch chipmaker Nexperia. Registrations at Volkswagen and Stellantis rose year-on-year by 6.5% and 4.6% respectively, while Renault went up more than a tenth. Tesla sales, meanwhile, dropped by almost half from a year ago, while BYD's sales jumped a near 207%. And while electric and hybrids saw a boost, all major markets saw drops in their petrol and diesel registrations.
Australia's Marine Science Agency is testing a new AI system. It aims to help restore the Great Barrier Reef by planting baby corals in exactly the right spots. The system uses small boats fitted with cameras that look at the seafloor in real time, and it's all part of broader efforts to speed the reef's recovery after recent mass bleaching. Mark Gibbs is from the Australian Institute of Marine Science.
The system's called the DGS, or Deployment Guidance System, and what it does is it allows us to deploy corals or place corals exactly where we want them to go on the reef, because we deploy the corals from boats on the surface rather than scuba divers, and so we need to make sure that they go exactly where we want them to go.
Right now, people are driving the boats. But AIM says the goal is to fully use autonomous vessels in the future, so they can plant many more corals. Onboard AI looks for microhabitats that young corals need, and triggers timely drops to cut guesswork and improve accuracy.
When we deploy these devices, we deploy this ceramic device with the corals on board. That gets deployed from the boat. It kind of falls down, it's quite heavy, so it falls down and generally lands very close, within a metre or so where we want it to land. So the placement is very accurate, and it's underpinned by the work that the AI system does to understand what's beneath the boat at the time and whether or not that's a good place to plant a coral.
The efforts follow major losses of hard coral on the Great Barrier Reef, which has suffered severe bleaching in recent years. In 2025, AIM said the reef's northern and southern parts had suffered their worst annual loss of coral in nearly 40 years. Now, it's hoped that planting new corals in the best places will give the reef a better chance to recover.
Could Meta rival Nvidia? And what the Pope thinks about artificial intelligence. This is AI Weekly. Meta Platforms is in talks with Google to spend billions of dollars on the company's chips for use in its data centers starting from 2027. That's according to the information. If confirmed, it could pitch Google as a serious rival to semiconductor giant Nvidia. The report said talks also involve Meta renting chips from Google Cloud as early as next year. US President Donald Trump signed an executive order to launch a government-wide effort to build an integrated AI platform. It's to harness federal scientific data sets to train next-generation technologies. The effort is called Genesis Mission. It aims to transform research and speed discoveries by using massive government scientific data sets. Trump directed the US Energy Department and US national laboratories to, quote, unite America's brightest minds and most powerful computers. The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin doesn't use AI tools himself, but officials who work for him do. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov added the Kremlin used AI tools to help sort through citizens' questions during Putin's annual question and answer event. Putin last week called for a national task force to coordinate Russia's work on homegrown generative AI models. He said they were vital to preserving Russian sovereignty. Alphabet is on track to hit a historic $4 trillion market valuation. It's been powered by an impressive year-long rally fueled by the Google parents' sharpened focus on AI tools. The firm joins an elite club of big tech companies racing to dominate the booming technology as AI continues to attract Wall Street this year. Leo, the first US Pope, discussed AI with 15,000 of the country's youth via a video call. It came during a live transmission from the Vatican to a National Catholic Youth Conference in Indiana. Leo told the young viewers AI is, quote, becoming one of the defining features of our time, but he cautioned it must be used responsibly.
In your education, make the most of this time. AI can process information quickly, but it cannot replace human intelligence. And don't ask it to do your homework for you. It cannot offer real wisdom. It misses a very important human element. AI will not judge between what is truly right and wrong.